Now it's time to look at one of the more powerful features of GIMP, probably the most powerful that we'll use, but at the same time it could be the most complicated. So I'm going to start slow and we will build on this. So in this tutorial we're going to look at layers. I opened up the dialog for layers and I like to keep that window right here over to the right so I can see it at any time. If that's not open when you open GIMP, you can always get to it by going to the Windows menu, go to Dockable Dialogs, and you'll see layers right there, which you can turn on. Think of layers just like it sounds. It's several stacked pages, and on each one you can have some image. It might be a transparent layer with some drawing on it, and you will only see the drawing. So right here you can see my layer is the background, and I made this image just a complex background. Now imagine that I was going to paint on this and I only had this one layer and I decided that I wanted to scribble on it for some reason like that. Imagine I work on this for about 20 minutes and I make a complex drawing over here and a little bit down here, and then I realize that I don't really like that scribble and I can't really undo everything because there's too many steps, and I can't just erase some of the scribble because it would actually erase my background. So rather than be totally limited and have to start over, that's what layers can help us with. I'm going to add a layer. Notice this button right here will create a new layer. When I do that, it asks me some questions about the layer. I'm going to name this scribble, and I'm going to make sure that it is marked as transparency, meaning that it has no color. In fact, when I click OK, it has a layer, but you can't even see it. There's no sign that there's even anything here other than over on my layers dialog I can see there's now a layer called scribble. If I pick that one, it's highlighted. If I pick the background, it's highlighted. I'm going to pick the scribble layer and I'm going to scribble on it. What that's done now is it put the scribble on that clear layer, and I could actually go in here with the eraser tool and I could erase part of this, and you can see that my background is untouched behind it. That's the power of layers. You can draw on a layer, modify it, delete it, whatever you need to do without worrying about affecting the background. You might have 10 layers on a complex picture and each one can be edited individually. Couple quick tips. See this eye? That button is the visibility. If I turn that off, I can turn off the visibility of that layer, then it's not obstructing what I'm seeing. In fact, I can even turn off the background. I'm going to turn the background back on and I'll leave this scribble layer. And again, I could add another layer. I will just call this new layer. That puts it on the top of the stack, so to speak. And let's make a different color. So now if I draw on this new layer, you'll notice that it covers up not just the background but also my scribble layer. If I go over to the layers dialog and click these arrow buttons, I can actually switch it. So I'm going to select the scribble layer and I can bring that up. Now notice scribbles on top and the scribbles are now above this oval that I drew. And could put the background up higher, but you won't see anything through the background because the background is not transparent. Here's an important thing to know. Let's say I have them in this order. I have new layer on top, I have the scribble and the background. Let's say I know that I'm done with the new layer and the scribble. They look exactly like I want them to. If I right click on the top one and I pick merge down, what that's going to do is merge those two layers into one. So now they're both on the layer scribble. If I make the background invisible, you'll see that the only layer that I can see is scribble, and it now contains both of those because I merged them down. If I merge them down again, it flattened the whole image, and now I just have a flat image that's called background. I'm actually going to undo those two merges, so I am back again to all three of these. And then the other thing you can do is you can delete a layer very easily by picking delete layer when you right click on that layer. One last thought on layers. When you have an image that is made up of multiple layers and you want to save it, let's say it's the end of the hour and you have to save your work. keep in mind when you try to save this, if you save this as a JPEG, you are going to lose your layers because a JPEG cannot have multiple layers. By saving it as a JPEG, you're flattening that image. You will not be able to edit just one layer later on. You come in tomorrow, your whole image is flattened. If you want to save the image, file format you want to use is called XCF. That is GIMP's format, and it'll save your layers. I am going to save this as an XCF. And now if I close this picture and I go back in and I say open recent, and there's my layer example XCF. When I open it up, notice that I still have my layers. That would not be true if I tried to save it as a JPEG. So here's my quick recap about using layers in GIMP. First of all, keep the layers dialog open. If you're doing anything with layers, you're going to want that dialog open so you can easily navigate between the layers. Make a new layer when you want to draw an image without disturbing the background or other elements. When in doubt, make a new layer. Merge down will combine the layer that you right click on with the one under it, so it kind of flattens those two together. Remember to save as .xcf if you want to keep layers. .xcf is a large file format, but it's the best way to save it if you want to come back to that file later and work on the layers. Save it as a JPEG only if a flattened image is going to work for your needs. Usually that would mean when you're totally done, if you wanted to put it on a web page or something like that, you would save it as a .jpg.